Achado ala.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله وأن عيسى.
Hello Muslim friends of the world. Havana, as a country that still adheres to the principles of communist socialist ideology, Cuba apparently has a different story about the development of Islam in this Caribbean country. The development of Cuban Muslims recently has grown from native Cubans, not from Middle Eastern immigrants. Linares Gonzalez, a 60-year-old convert to Islam who changed her name to Islam Fatima, explained the condition of Islam in Cuba. He explained that the development of Islam in Fidel Castro's country was largely due to the conversion of native Cubans to become Muslims. Even Fatima emphasized that Islam had been known for a long time when Spain introduced slaves from the Moorish region, North Africa, who were closely related to Spanish culture. Islam has played an important role in Cuba since the arrival of Christopher Columbus to the island, Fatima told USA Today. Historically, not long after communist leader Fidel Castro took over Cuba in 1959, various religious bans were implemented. Even Catholic churches and religious schools were closed. However, in recent years, the Cuban government appears to have begun to ease restrictions on religious activity. This can be seen in the return of Catholic activity, Afro-Caribbean beliefs, and Islam. Pedro Lazo Torres, who has now changed his name to Imam Yahya, revealed that in the past there were very few Cuban Muslims who carried out religious activities. However, now Cuban Muslims are not afraid to pray on the main road. Torres, who is also currently president of the Cuban Muslim League, confirmed that the number of native Cuban Muslims continues to increase. Torres said the Muslim population has grown in part because of students traveling to Cuba from Chad, Niger, Nigeria, and Rwanda. 99% of Cuban Muslims converted to Islam and did not descend from Arabia, said Ahmed Aburo, one of the imams of a mosque in Havana. However, one of the things that prevents Cubans from becoming perfect Muslims is the difficulty of leaving Cuban culture behind. These include stopping drinking alcohol, enjoying pork, and other Cuban people's lives. Reaching 9,000 Muslims is a major achievement, because in the 1990s their number was only 12 people. Islam is quietly developing in Cuba. As many as 9,000 Muslims move freely in this country. Although only a small part, they are enough to influence the lives of 11.3 million citizens of a country known for its cigars. Reaching 9,000 Muslims is a major achievement, because in the 1990s their number was only 12 people. Islam will grow naturally. The Communist Party has made the decision to open up religious plurality, said the professor. Political science at Emory University in Atlanta Michael Leo Owens, as reported by Newsweek.com. Because there is no history of Islam in Cuba, many of the island's Muslims are recent converts to Islam. They communicate a lot with Muslims from various countries, such as America, Europe, and the Middle East. Despite being part of the fastest-growing religious group in the world, the Pew Research Center report estimates that the world's Muslim population will increase 73% by 2050. One country where Muslims are growing is Cuba. In the early 1990s, a handful of Muslims in Cuba faced possible persecution by the regime for practicing their religion. However, most seek protection. Secretly, they practice their beliefs. At that time there were few who could teach them about Islam. Now they have leadership, teachers, and a mosque that has been open in Havana since June 2015. At the opening, the mosque administrators donated Muslim clothing to men and women and also lambs to the congregation during the month of Ramadan. Haji Isa was previously known as Jorge Elias Gil Viant, a Muslim and Cuban artist. She is a former librarian of the Arab-Cuban Union, a cultural organization based in Havana. He estimates there are around 1,000 Cuban Muslims. Most of them are descendants of Muslim immigrants. This is a young community. Muslims from abroad have been and still are a determining factor in the development of Cuban society. Muslim students from Africa, Western Sahara, Yemen, Palestine, and other Arab countries had a major influence in the 1990s. Many of them came from Pakistan, said ISA as quoted by Al Jazeera. According to ISA, this is a small Muslim community. They have different characteristics. As the number of Muslims began to grow, however, people became more aware of Islam as a religion also practiced by Cubans. Islam is a belief that supports Cuba's development. Moors from Andalusia were brought as slaves by Spanish conquistadors as early as 1593. Over the following centuries, both Muslim and Christian traders from the Middle East were attracted to Cuba by its natural riches. The country is famous for its fertile land. The agricultural product is sugar, which is widely traded. Most people there live in Havana or around Santiago de Cuba, the second largest city in the Far East. Most Arab immigrants, both Muslims and Christians, left their religion in Cuba. Many brothers from other countries say Cuban Muslims are the real ones, because they are much harder to observe. Cuban culture today always poses challenges for Muslims. Rum is one of the main items sold in cafes. This is a popular drink, not least because they are much cheaper than soft drinks. Non-halal meat is also widely traded there. Currently, supermarkets have just started importing halal chicken from Brazil, but it is unaffordable for most Cubans. Clothing, such as dishdasha or head coverings, must be imported or as gifts from Muslims of other countries. Many brothers from other countries have told me that we Cuban Muslims are the true ones, because it is much harder to observe here than in countries where many people have the same beliefs and practices, ISA said. Cubans also face the challenge of a lack of understanding of Islam. Media reports of terrorist attacks and conflict in the Middle East have shaped many Cubans' perceptions of the religion. Jamal is an informal representative of Santiago's Muslim community consisting of about 30 Cubans and 90 foreign students. He works in a government office. His job is to observe the development of Muslims in the country and support their need to practice their faith. We try to give the best example of Islam, because currently there are a lot of negative messages in the media. People generalize, think, if you are a Muslim, you must be a terrorist, he explained.